Um, One of the things that that the MCLE team asked me to sort of recap are just sort of some of the key takeaways that that we've had over the the past few hours. Certainly on the corporate side, preparation as early as possible is going to be a key issue, and also thinking strategically about how you want to exit, whether it's private equity or an acquisition, or acquisition by a new owner, or by a corporate entity. So lots of decisions there, and it seems as though you can't start thinking about and preparing for those far enough in advance. On the employment side, Renee and Andy talked an awful lot about the non-competes and the changes in the rules with regard to Massachusetts, and both the trade secrets and the rules associated with making those enforceable. It was also interesting to hear about sort of the challenges with bring your own devices, particularly when in a high-tech emerging startup company context. Who's got money to just buy a new MacBook Pro or iPad or whatever for everyone, and how do you make sure that you protect your information and your assets? On the risk side, Seth and Chaz talked about know what data you have. It is really tough to protect your data, and it's really tough to sort of make an insurance claim against it if you can't even demonstrate what information you have, what its value is, where it is. And just as we do with fire drills, it's like it may sound silly, but that's stop, drop, and roll is a helpful little reminder, and one of these days we'll think of something appropriately quippy in the data security context, but it really helps to prepare in advance. And whether you're turning to a consultant or someone in private practice like Seth or Mark, lots of good guidance out there on how to prepare. Digital advertising, I really liked that little photo of Alistair McTaggart, and the quip from Google, to the extent that that's accurate, that'll teach you to talk about work while out socializing. It's in the digital advertising space, there's so much information out there, and it really is becoming less and less anonymized, and the rules in this area are changing extraordinarily rapidly. Even if you're just looking at using a telemarketing campaign, texting, online ads, or an email blast, and digital marketing everyone's doing. And finally, with Jared and Mark on the consumer protection side of things, it was really interesting to see just how underprepared most of the world is still with the GDPR. And so I think that the work that McDermott and Poneman did together is really, really helpful. If you're unfamiliar with the EU General Data Protection Regulation, it may well apply to you, even if you only have employees, in the Commonwealth. So ask someone about that. But even just within the Commonwealth, from the AG's office, it's on the one hand you've got the AG Healy's team protecting consumers against privacy and data security violations, but also don't always consider them to be the adversary. There are many times in which, whether it's a European DPA sort of short for Data Protection Agency, Administration, Authority, or a state AG's office, certainly you want to be thoughtful about how you approach them and what you say, but they can be very, very helpful with regard to more of an educational perspective. And at least in my experience, and I would, I don't know about Mark, but if you approach them, in good faith, asking for guidance, they're just as they're not interested in sort of whacking the good guys, so to speak. So so with that, we're at time. For those of you here in person, thank you very much for sticking it out. And for those of you on the webinar, you should have all of the materials, and thank you too. So with that, it's a wrap.